Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the After the Frame podcast. My name is Malik, and I am joined, as always, by.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And today we are going to be reviewing The Running Man. What did you think going into this movie? Were you excited for it? Did you see the original?
Prior to this one coming out, I actually did sit down and watch the original. I'm a fan of Edgar Wright's work, so I was going into this one with pretty reasonably high expectations.
Okay. I have not seen the original. Just from the trailers, it seemed like it was just going to be a fun action movie, kind of like futuristic. So I was game to watch it. And I don't think that it disappointed or exceeded any expectations of mine. I think it kind of fell right where I thought it was going to be, which is not bad. We'll get into what we think about it in a second. But yeah, I thought that all the people that were casted played their parts pretty well. Especially to me, I think Josh Brolin did like more outstanding, and also Glen Powell as well, who's taking stage now, becoming more popular and is kind of taking over as like maybe a new action star, like up and coming. But yeah, what anything else you wanted to note before we get into the positives and negatives?
No, we can dive right in.
All right, let's do the positives first. For me, I enjoyed how visually appealing, I want to say, this movie was. I thought that like the way that the camera work was, as well as the stunt coordination, and to my knowledge, I believe Glen Powell actually did all of his own stunts, a la Tom Cruise. And I just thought it was such a cool way, like visually, like how they showed the Running Man as like this game show, and then it like the things would pop up on the screen with the different graphics of the players and things of that nature. It had me like hooked. Like I felt like I was watching like a some sort of game show like in the theater there. But yeah, what did you think about that, or did you have some other take on that?
Yeah, you kind of knocked out two birds with one stone there.
Oh, nice.
For me, have you seen any of Edgar Wright's other films? Baby Driver, Scott Pilgrim, any of
I've
those?
seen Baby Driver. I have not seen Scott Pilgrim yet.
Okay.
I loved Baby Driver though.
So yeah, Baby Driver is probably my favorite film done by him.
Hmm.
But as with an Edgar Wright directed film and just the overall action style, Edgar Wright's signature flair is kind of all over this, between that kinetic pacing, the sharp edits, this visual wit, and this rhythm that keeps the movie constantly moving. The action sequences are stylish without losing any clarity. They're fun, they're frantic, but they are full of personality. And that was one thing I liked. And
Hmm.
to me, it felt like Edgar Wright was embracing an underrated side of his skill set and just having a blast while doing it. While you mentioned Glen Powell doing stunts and everything, I want to touch on his lead performance, because I thought he absolutely owned the role. He was very charismatic, he was confident, he was just overall endlessly watchable. I thought he did
Hmm.
a good job balancing humor, intensity, and just overall star power in a way that kind of carries the entire film. And ultimately, this is just one of those performances where you think, yeah, this guy was born to lead an action movie.
Yeah, and he got into very good shape for it as well. Yeah, I quite like Glen Powell. I mean, people want him to be Booster Gold. I think he'd be pretty good. But yeah, last year, even in Twisters, like he just seems like an actor, as I said, like up and coming in these movies, coming into his own in these lead roles. Yeah, I quite like him, and I liked him in this role as well. I thought that it was well cast for him there. I thought that Coleman Domingo was going to have more to do, but he played his part well. But he didn't do. But I guess we can just go into the acting now, like as a segue. I thought the acting in this movie was very good. I thought that I don't even know if it was advertised, but like to me, like the Michael Cera thing, was that a cameo or was he advertised like billed in the movie? Like I wasn't sure. I thought that was like pretty cool.
From a trailer that I had seen, he has a brief, like 10-second appearance in
Okay, so
one
he
of the
was probably
trailers.
already, but yeah, to me, I guess I didn't see a trailer with him in it, so I was like surprised when I saw him like pop up on the screen. But the casting is good. Everybody like hits their, not just the emotional beats, because obviously the plot of the story is Glen Powell's character is trying to do this very dangerous game in order to provide for his family, while also going in and taking down this big corporation run by Josh Brolin from the inside as well, and exposing him. And I thought that aspect was pretty cool as well. Yeah, everybody hits their emotional beats. Everybody's hitting their comedic stuff because there's a lot of good comedy in it. And overall, as I said, like as an action, I guess you want to call it comedy, drama, whatever, everybody just plays their parts so well. So anybody else you wanted to shout out with the acting, or anything in particular?
Not with the acting, but looking at the entertainment value and just energy pacing, that whole package. You kind of touched on it. This movie is just simply fun. You know, from the opening setup to the wild mid-film set pieces, it's just a high energy reimagining of the original that knows exactly what it wants to be. And you've got this blend of satire, spectacle, and adrenaline that just keeps the momentum going. To me, it was the rare remake slash reimagining, whatever you want to call it, that actually felt fresh, not just a rinse and repeat recycled carbon copy. So
Gotcha. Maybe yeah, since I haven't seen the original, maybe I need to watch it. But yeah, I didn't feel like that going in, like having that headspace of like where does it compare. I thought I do know that obviously Arnold is in the original one, and I remember I watched the movie and I told my girlfriend I was like, oh yeah, that's why he's on the money in the movie, you know. And she was like confused. She's like, what the hell is like Arnold like the president there or something? And I was like,
yeah,
so I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. What other positives did you have?
just kind of talking about the world building and the tone. I thought that the world was exaggerated in all the right ways. It's flashy, it's violent, it's chaotic, it's satirical. It found a tone that felt both modern and true to the spirit of the original story. And the humor, it complements the dystopian intensity without just undermining it. And then lastly here, I thought the film just had strong overall execution despite some flaws, which we can get into. But even
Mhm.
with minor bumps, I thought the film delivered a pretty cohesive, energetic experience between the narrative stakes, the visual creativity, and just the character work. All of that is clicking for most of the runtime. So I was a fan.
Okay. Yeah, then we can get into the negatives. You want to give your first one?
Yeah, I don't have much here, but my first one ultimately was just a muddy third act. I thought with the biggest stumble, there was the story took a turn that didn't quite land, and this key story thread near the end just kind of drags the momentum down and just creates some tonal confusion. It doesn't ruin the movie, but the landing is definitely shakier than the takeoff. So
Okay. For me, my first thing was I'll do like in degrees of the things that bothered me. The in the beginning, they just had a little bit of dialogue that I thought was like a little bit corny, where it was just like a little bit like phoned in, that type of stuff. It wasn't sprinkled too much throughout the movie, but there were a few times where I was like, like a little cheesy type of stuff. So it depends on what you like. And then second for me, I thought that there was a lot too many, way too many coincidences for our main character where he would just, there's like a big action scene, which was really well choreographed with him in the hotel, and, the people are coming after him. He just so happens to bump into this little kid, and the little kid's brother is like somebody who's also exposing the government, has like his own like YouTube channel. The whole Michael Sarah thing, he just goes to Michael Sarah's house, and like it's like people are there like helping him, obviously, but it's kind of like they're not explained where they're coming from, his relationship with them, or it's just kind of like our main character needs to go from here to this point, which I didn't, as you said, it doesn't ruin the movie, but these little things are like the little like more nitpicky where I'm just like, oh, like this person just appearing out of nowhere. So
yeah.
those are like my first two that I had. And I'll let you say your next one.
Yeah, second bullet for me was just the point that some story elements, in my opinion, didn't fully connect. Certain plot choices just felt underdeveloped or rushed, especially as the film kind of shifts toward its conclusion. Those emotional beats that you touched on kind of meant to anchor the finale just aren't as impactful as the rest of the film from my perspective.
Yeah. My big one, kind of, I guess, tying into what you just said, is that I feel like while the movie, from a visual standpoint, is outstanding, I felt like the story itself, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure how similar it was to the original, but from just me seeing just this movie alone as a standalone, I felt like it kind of didn't swing for the fences. It's like that typical action movie where you have this one guy, similar to like John Wick, where you have this one guy who, is like very overpowered, and like, multiple people are coming at him at once, and he's able to always evade it no matter what. He just slips through. It's, everything that to me in this movie, it was like playing it safe. The premise of the movie is his daughter's sick. He's talking to his wife. We can never do the Running Man. He goes to do the Running Man, and of course he wins the Running Man. Like it's all very just like, oh, very safe. So at the end of the day, I was like, I know that maybe it's also playing into, obviously, not just the Stephen King book, but also the original film. But maybe it's more of a critique on the Stephen King like source material, but to me, I was just like, it was very easy to predict what was going to happen. You know, it's, as I said, like it's just a main character going through trials and tribulations and then coming out winning on the end, and you know he gets the money for his family, and that's it. So I just felt like that throughout the movie. It was just very safe.
Yeah, no, I get that. My last bullet is just talking about the pacing dip in the final stretch, in my opinion. After a propulsive, pretty first hour and then some, I thought the story kind of stalled briefly in the home stretch. And, as we've touched on, the movie regains its footing. But to me, the slowdown was pretty noticeable. But yeah, that's all I had for what didn't work. Nothing,
Yeah,
nothing crazy here.
yeah, mine too. I feel like this movie was very it was good, but like to me not great, and I feel like it could have been. But yeah, we can get into our final thoughts and ratings. You want to give your rating first?
Yeah. So I gave this a 8 flat out of 10.
Okay.
In my opinion, this film is a blast. I mean, it's fast, it's stylish, it's funny, and it's driven by a magnetic lead performance by Glen Powell. And even with a messy finale, I mean, it delivers one of the most purely entertaining just rides of the year. Despite the wobbly landing, but it's one hell of a run.
Yeah. Um, for me, I ended up giving this actually quite like lower because I think that I was expecting a little bit more. I gave it a 72%, which is still good for me. I'm within that bracket, 7 to 8, which is good. For me, I think that while this movie was very, very beautiful to look at times, and as I said, the choreography for the fights, the choreography for all of the stunts, which shout out to all the stunt people. I know that they're getting their shout out in the Oscars this next year. I thought all of that was great from a visual standpoint. But like I said, to me, I watching this movie, just going through the plot with the characters and everything, I kind of, because like you kind of know where everything's going and it's so predictable, you don't feel that sense of dread for his daughter, for him. You just know that he's not gonna be losing. You know, like that good will conquer evil. It's like just nothing too surprising. So I think that that's where I kind of just docked it a lot more points. I think it could have, with all of the randomness of a game show called The Running Man, where people are basically, they're sending the dogs after you and they have people basically bounty hunting you. I feel like that could make so much more for, something more surprising happening, more twists in the tail, but I didn't really feel like I got that. And then just leaving the movie, you don't really feel like, nothing really like stayed with me. I just felt like I just went and I watched like, an action movie from the 2000s, just looks a little better. So yeah, that's where I gave my 72%.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, we're not far off. So
Yeah, no. So yeah, that wraps it up for my thoughts on the film. Anything else you wanted to say?
no, I am all good.
All right, cool. Well, then that does it for our review of The Running Man, and we will see you all in the next one.
Take it easy, everybody.
Bye bye.